Good Girl Confessional podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Lowres, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly brought to us by Wb40, Women Beyond 40, a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond to share their hard-won wisdom and to be part of a dynamic community of women changing the narrative around pro-aging. To jump on board, please join us at wb40.com. We'd love to see you there. Today in the Confessional, I am beyond excited to be hosting 3 generations of extraordinary women from the one family. I am, of course, talking about the Silberys from Gogglebox, Australia. Of course, I am so overjoyed to be chatting with Emmie, who is 93 years old, Kerry, who is 68, and Kerry's daughter Isabelle, Izzy, who is 36. 3 generations of the Silbery family, a very close-knit, gorgeous family. The 3 women have come together for this beautiful show. If you're not watching it, you should jump on board. But they've actually just written a new book. Their book is called Out of the Box, and I'm super excited to have them here today. Please welcome to the Confessional, Emmie, Kerry and Izzy. Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional. How are you all today?
We're good, thanks. Thanks for having us on.
I am very excited to have the 3 of you on. I am such a huge fan of all of you, but how beautiful to see 3 generations of incredible women all together.
Yes, it's pretty special. And we've got 4 generations, but he's not here. He's at school.
Oh,
yes, he's a boy.
Yeah, but that is lovely that there are 4 generations. It's beautiful. So I guess, you've got a huge fan club out there now, ladies. I wanted to jump in and ask, how has it actually been to have this incredible experience of working on Gogglebox together?
It's been it's been a journey. I think when we first started, we just never realised, that how popular the show would become. And so, it was just an easy gig for the 3 of us to be hanging out on the couch together of a night time. We have done that since forever anyway. And then as the show's progressed, it's just taken off and people really resonate with, all the different families. And I think everyone that watches it can see someone in them that, that they can relate to. It's been great.
It's interesting because the executive producer in Sydney said at the very beginning, this is the little show that could. Like, it surprised him as well.
Yeah, it's such an incredible show. And I know the premise of it, for people who don't watch it, they sometimes say it's about what? And you say, well, it's people sitting at home watching television. And you say, what? And so you're watching other people watch television. I was such a huge fan initially of Gogglebox in the UK, which I still think is brilliant, which led me, of course, to Gogglebox here in Australia. And I just love it. Like, I can't get enough of it.
I think there's a big difference between the Gogglebox UK and us, is that it's obvious to me when I've clicked on it that it's very classist, whereas we don't seem to have that element in the Australian Gogglebox, which is a wonderful reflection on us as a society, I think, is that you can have this collective of the diversity of the Australian community and everybody's on an equal level. It's amazing.
It's so beautiful. I love it. And I think that that's the charming part about it, is to see so many different families and their dynamic. I think 100% you're right there, Kerry.
And it's also, what surprises me too, is that it's not a show about people watching television. It's a show about, it's like a vox pop of the Australian population. So, we get thrown all these incredibly complicated societal issues and everybody expresses their opinions on it. And surprisingly, all our opinions are the same. It's all about humanity and about caring for each other and the environment.
It really is. It's so great. And I think that's what's fascinating too, is it really is a snapshot into, I guess, what is society watching? What does it mean to us and how we're responding and reacting? I think it's quite extraordinary.
And stimulating the discussions around the family dinner table, so to speak, the couch, about all these issues that we're all dealing with.
Yeah, we get a lot of people saying that, it's the one show that they watch with their kids or their partner, all together.
Yeah.
And, in this day and age, there's so much separation with technology in families. The kids are upstairs watching something different or
Usually porn.
Usually.
But, Gogglebox is the one show that their families are all sitting together and watching. And then once it's finished, they continue the conversation, like what the conversations we're having, and they continue that with their families, which is really important.
I think that's 100% true because I know I watch it with my partner, Michael, and I also watch it with my daughter, Paris. And I think, it's so cross-sectional. I think that's what I love about it. And hearing the different opinions from the different generations in your family, but also in the other families as well is quite interesting.
And the people always feedback to us that you say exactly what I'm saying, or you think exactly how I think, or my daughter gives me the shits too, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, I give my daughter the shits as well. So I think it's I think it is that kind of, it's just, I've had so many laugh out loud moments watching your family in particular for that exact reason. I think it's just this fascinating dynamic between daughters and mothers, and to see, a daughter and her mother and her grandmother is just so brilliant. But your relationship with Emmie as well, Kerry, is just fabulous.
Like that.
I love the no nonsense stuff though, and Emmie in particular. Recently, watching a clip of you talking about what you were looking at on your iPad, and Kerry's response to that was, "Stay off the internet, Mum."
What was that? It was when you ended up watching accidentally, because you just scroll through all this absolute crap for hours, and you ended up watching a woman pleasuring herself.
Oh my God.
I don't know what I found more amusing was, I don't know, Emmie, if it was because you found that or Kerry's response to it. I just thought it was hilarious. So I guess the big question I've got many questions, but the big one is, what have you learned about each other? Or that's a big one, but how does it feel to have learned so much about each other through this process? Maybe I'll start with you, Isabelle.
How does it feel? I think it feels really, just really good and really positive and quite inspiring for me, as the youngest one of the three. I feel like what I've personally learnt and given to the other two, especially through writing this book, has really just brought us closer. And that's a really nice feeling to have. And I know that, after both of them have gone and, the generations continue, that I can proudly say, like, I really did know them and I really valued them. And, we asked each other the hard questions and we listened to the answers. And I think that's what makes an intimate relationship really healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. What about for you, Kerry?
I think for me, it was the highlighting of the shared experience for women, which, I mean, we all knew we all knew our stories, of course we did, but to go into the in-depth part of it in the writing of it was what really struck me was this, and I don't know how to say it in a philosophical way, but it tied in with the whole Brittany Higgins, Grace Tame experience and the fact that the women of Australia were so angry. And it was like, now it's not a shameful thing to talk about what's happened to you in your life. It's a thing that women all share. There is not one woman in this country that hasn't somehow experienced what we've all experienced in some shape or form. And I think writing the book highlighted that for me, that here we've got three generations who have been through very similar experiences, and it's something that we share with all the women that we come in contact with, and probably all the women who are going to buy and read the book.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Emmie, was it strange for you then to be learning things, or did you learn new things about your daughter and your granddaughter through this process of writing the book?
I learned a couple of things I didn't know before, which was surprising. But I enjoyed the whole thing, just to be close to each other more often than we would have been otherwise. So just to see each
Yeah.
other a lot. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing. And first of all, congratulations, by the way, ladies, on the book, which is called Out of the Box. And we will put links up in our show notes so every woman can rush out and buy it, and every person actually. Um, I think what struck me about the fact that you wrote a book together was, I think, for a lot of us, like my mum has now passed away, and I think what an extraordinary thing to do, and that I wish I had have asked
Mm.
her to write down those stories, or to help her write down those stories, because there's so much about our parents that we possibly don't know. I think it's interesting. I recently heard Dolly Parton actually say this, that the relationship we have with our parents is in no way the same relationship their friends have with them. And they often know truths that perhaps we forget to share with our children. So in writing the book, was it a difficult process? I mean, obviously, as you said, Kerry, you know your own stories, but was it a difficult process at times to be sharing your individual stories with one another?
Yeah, I think it was hard, but it was necessary. And um, I talk about this in my introduction in the book. Is that it really felt like, as the youngest of the three, that we're all like carrying around our own backpacks full of all the stuff that has happened to us. And I have felt before writing this book that I was carrying a lot of transgenerational stuff that was in my bag that wasn't for me to be carrying around. And it really is our responsibility. And like watching Emmie and Mum step up during this process and really own their story and process it, means that you don't then pass that on to the next generations, that it's not up to them to process. So yeah, it was confronting, but I feel like we hope that the book just shows other people that they can do the same thing. And it's a bit scary, but it's really good when you do it.
It's like I worked in adolescent psychiatry for a long time, and I used to say to the kids, "Yeah, I know it's tough. The therapy is tough, but you've got to squeeze the pimple to get the pus out, because you can't heal unless that pus is gone."
Yeah, wow. That's it's a really beautiful way to put it, but it is very true. And I think, Isabel, what you're saying rings so true for so many people, and it certainly will with all of our listeners as well, is that we do tend to carry the scars of our parents, and as they are carrying the scars from their parents. And we do, with all good intention of trying not to, we then pass it down to our children.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's such an extraordinary thing. Was it cathartic, I guess, Kerry, for you to be reading those stories of your mum, and then reading the truth from your daughter?
Oh, cathartic. That's such a broad word, isn't it?
Mm,
It was traumatic, I must admit. There were a lot of tears because we wrote it in isolation. So even though Isabel lives, a 5-minute walk from my house, I couldn't see her. So we were having lots of phone conversations about it, and lots of sobbing, and it was really hard. It was very hard, actually. But, counter to that, there were also lots of hilarious laughter as well, which was really needed at that time because we were in isolation for quite a long time. Um, so, yes, I think it was cathartic in all senses of the word.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember, like, because we'd have to call each other on the phone and like read each other's chapters to each other and like work on it together over the phone. And yeah, I mean, I remember rereading one of Emmie's chapters about her upbringing, and she just was silent on the other end. I was like, "Hello, are you still listening?" And she's like, "I just can't believe that happened to me. That's my story." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's you." And she's like, "Wow, that's so sad. I feel really sorry for that little girl." And I'm like, "Oh, like just to get that perspective of like, you know, that little, you can really see in all of the us grown women's stories, the little girl inside and what she's been through and what's made us the grown women we are today. Yeah, and it's just a reminder that we've all got our little girl inside of ourselves, and we really still need to nurture her and love her and accept her unconditionally.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing that shines through as well, I think, Isabelle, especially when I think of you, is that, the inherited strength as well from these other women in your life, from the generations of women, that yes, sometimes I get that we have a lot of baggage and we've got to work through that, but through that, all of that as well was an extraordinary amount of strength in both Emmie and Kerry. And do you feel like did that come through for you? Did you feel like you've kind of inherited a lot of good as well?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I've inherited. I don't think I've inherited it. I feel like it's been um, shown to me. So we all learn by example. And so when I've been in need, they've both just, pulled up their sleeves and are there no matter what. And so I, by default, have learned that that's how you are and that's how you can be. And that's the best way to move forward in life, is just to get through it, and you need to do what you need to do. And yeah, they've shown me that, and I'm so proud that I get to now be that sort of a mother to my kids, and yeah, it will be continued.
It's so beautiful. And I suppose because too, with different generations, there's a different time going on. Kerry, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about the Me Too movement, when you talk about this extraordinary movement that is going on for women now. It's a shared collective, I guess. How beautiful for you, I guess, to be seeing that women in your daughter's generation will be putting up with less crap than perhaps our generation was putting up with, and definitely what our mothers had to put up with. So in that, I guess it's, first of all, Izzy, I should say, by the way, congratulations on your wedding. How fabulous. I wanted to ask you in that how was it strange for you to now be sharing your life out in the general public? You guys are now celebrities, you're television celebrities. So is it a strange thing to be sharing everything out on socials now?
It was strange to begin with. And now, I was speaking about this with a friend the other day. And, we still don't share everything. I mean, what we put out there is still very planned and calculated. And we're definitely not one of those influencers or celebrities that just are trigger happy with the socials and just puts everything out there. I am very mindful that I've got a son and I've got my private life and the things that do happen in my life that sometimes I'm not prepared to share with everyone. But yeah, with the things that I do share, I always ask myself, like, what's the point of sharing this? Like, can this help anyone else? Is this interesting to anyone else? And if the answer is yes, then yeah, I'll share. But if the answer is like no, then I don't share it. And I also, especially the sort of the harder things, sharing the wedding is easy. It's about love and everything's happy. But the struggles that I've had that I've shared, I've been very mindful to wait until I've processed that myself with my family, my friends, and my therapist, and then shared it outwardly to the public in order to perhaps inspire someone else to be okay with that thing, or whatever message that I want to put across. But I'm very mindful that I'm okay with it, because what comes back to you is other people wanting to chat about that thing or talk to you about it. And if I'm not ready, then that's not a good recipe. So no, but sharing my beautiful wedding with everyone. I mean, who doesn't love love?
Well, everybody loves love, but I love that you're empowered to do that as well, to basically protect and set boundaries for yourself and for your soul. And I think that's an incredible message to put out there as well, for especially, I think, for our younger listeners who often feel that, they're obligated to share every moment of their life across social medias, that's a really empowering message. So thank you, Isabelle, for that. Emmie, I wanted to ask you, talking about being a television celebrity, what's it been like for you to suddenly be a celebrity? Because I absolutely 100% love that women of your generation, I feel, don't get enough exposure in the media, and I'm loving that what you have brought to Gogglebox and to other people in your generation. How has it been that you're suddenly getting recognised? How do you feel about that?
I enjoy it. I think it's great. No, I've enjoyed every minute of what I've been doing. Otherwise, I'd be, sitting at home reading a book or whatever. Have a pretty boring life otherwise, I think. Do I have a boring life?
Yeah.
No, yes. No, I don't. I've always got Isabelle and Kerry to back me up and, get something out of me when I'm not talking.
So what is it about being a woman of your age on mainstream media?
Well, I feel proud that I can do that for other women and make them feel that they are just as good as I am and they could be the same as me if they tried. Yes.
And that they've got
Oh,
a voice like you've got.
Yeah, to have a voice like mine. I wish that for every woman my age, to have a voice, to come out and speak about how they feel and what their problems are.
You and Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah, me and Dame Judi Dench. Someone said to me the other day, "Who says you look like Dame Judi Dench? She's got more wrinkles than you have."
I love that, and I guarantee if she heard that, she'd probably be laughing too. I love it. I think it is really important, though. I mean, one of the things about our platform, and the Good Girl Confessional is part of a platform called Wb40, Women Beyond 40, was about giving a voice and facial recognition in mainstream media to women who are 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond, who are being overlooked quite often in mainstream media. And I think, do you think in seeing representation, I believe, matters, but do you think for other people to see themselves reflected back, it encourages them to then live a fuller life in their day-to-day lives?
Yes, I do. I think it helps a lot. I mean, I've got a lot of friends my age, although they're all dropping off their perches one by one. They all say that listening to somebody like me on the TV has helped them to, be more positive about their lives. Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. And I think it maybe also, I believe, probably encourages lots of other families too to get their grandparents involved with different things, not, just making assumptions about when we get to a certain age what we should be doing or what we will be interested in.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so passionate about not forgetting about our older generation, and hopefully through seeing us on TV or reading the book and things like that, it's a reminder to others to go and pick your grandparents up and take them to happy hour at the RSL or take them out for dinner and just ask them stuff, like they've been here before. They know a lot more than we give them credit for.
The first thing you have to ask them is, have you got your hearing aids turned
That's
on?
true. Make sure the hearing aids are turned on, because then that will make for a very tough conversation.
Otherwise, yeah.
Emmie and I, we have so much fun together.
Yeah, we do.
We really do. We go out all the time, even just the two of us, and just to see the smile on her face when she's there and she's talking to other people and she's having a wine or a dance, like, there's no age limit. It's all in your mind, and it's, when you do get old, you do get tired and you get less sort of motivated. And I can see that with Emmie. She'll say, "Nah, can't be bothered," and I'll be like, "Yes, you can. Come on, we're going." And you just need that bit of a push. So yeah, it's just a reminder to families. You just go and visit them, go and call them up, like have a chat. go out for a wine, because it will just, it makes such a difference.
Because they're not with us forever.
No,
Yeah, that's so true.
the years are flying by.
Yeah, and that's why it's so beautiful, Emmie, and all of you, that you were able to write this book together, Emmie, and you were able to share your story and your journey, because that's forever now cemented in time, which is so beautiful.
Yes.
And also one of the beautiful things too is we've done an audio book, so we've actually got Mum's voice recorded forever.
Mm.
How beautiful is that? And I think that that's so amazing. And we have a lot of people, a lot of our listeners and a number of our guests are in the disability community. And so I think having audiobooks is so fantastic. A lot of people really struggle to pick up a book and read it. But to be hearing your beautiful voice is a really lovely thing, Emmie. They won't be missing out on any of it.
No.
And what was that process like, actually, recording the book? What was that like?
That was very emotional for me. Parts of it were emotional, but I think I did all right. I kept worrying about my voice, and I kept saying to the chap, "Do I sound all right? I want to hear myself so that I can say whether I like it or not." But he didn't allow me to hear it, so I've got no idea what I sound like.
This is probably a good ploy, Emmie, because no one likes to hear the sound of their own voice.
Well, I had this really funny experience with the sound engineer. He was a very young, I think, what do you reckon, Isabelle? 22.
20, yeah.
Really lovely boy next door. He was a very sweet boy. And I'm reading all this incredibly intimate stuff, about my life and about what it's like to be a woman and have sex at 68 and this sort of thing. And at one point I stopped and said to him, "Oh, Ben, you're learning an awful lot about women, aren't you?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, I think it's really great." And then he said to me, "You've got such a great voice, Kerry. It's really calm and mellow and very peaceful voice." And I said to him, "Do you think I might have a future career in phone sex?" And he went completely truth. And then he said, "I don't know about phone sex, but you'd make a great sleep app."
That's how exciting your voice is.
I was in my head thinking, oh, you could be recording like erotica.
Yeah.
There you go. Sleep app. Oh, that is hilarious. I love it. And I love too your openness, not just on the show, but obviously in this book. You have gone on, as you say, to share quite intimate details of your lives, which is brave and ballsy, but I do think really important as well, as you say, in reaching other women, because and that's the whole thing with Wb40 and this podcast as well. In women sharing their stories, it really does encourage conversation. It encourages other women to open up and say, oh, I would never have spoken about my sex life before, I love that. Do you find that people come up to you in the street and feel they really know you, even if they've never met you before?
Yeah, it's really nice. I think our openness with each other and what we just put out there is just because I think the three of us have decided that there's no point in having shame and stigma around what we can and can't talk about or feel or experience. And I love it that we can talk about everything. And there'll be a shock value for a couple of seconds maybe,
and
then you're like, oh yeah. And it's sort of representing like the private conversations we have with all our friends, and we're just really passionate about just not caring about what people think and just living your truth and speaking your truth.
I always have a bit of a double take when somebody says to me, "Oh, you're so brave, Kerry," and I think, oh shit, what do you know that I don't know? Why am I so brave? Like, what's going to happen?
And I maybe the bravery part comes from, there's a lot of women out there, and the issue of shame is massive. There are a lot of women out there who feel they cannot share their truth, their authentic selves, and they can't share parts of their life, even with their close friends. And I think that's something that we're quite passionate about here as well, is breaking down those stigmas and actually saying this is exactly who we are, and it's actually okay to share it and speak about it.
And by celebrate it.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Celebrate it. And I think that that's the thing. You know, I remember the Good Girl Confessional started out as a blog many years ago in about 2013 when I was writing about my sex life, basically sex, dating, and relationship beyond the age of 40 after suddenly being divorced after 18 years. There were so many people saying to me, like, I'm embarrassed even reading it. I'm blushing, going, how can you be talking about this stuff? But I think that in talking about that stuff, what also happened was I met a lot of amazing women who said, oh, I thought I was the only one out there.
Well, it normalizes the experience, and you don't feel like you are the only one, because you're not. And we're all experiencing very similar things. And if we don't talk about it, we're not going to realize that, yeah, we're very much the same.
And to go back to the idea of, what it's like to be approached in the street, for me, I mean, I'm still taken aback when it happens, because I've taught for over 40 years. So I've taught thousands and thousands of kids. And if somebody comes up to me and says, I know you, and I often say, well, maybe I've taught you, or I taught your children, or what school did you go to, or something like that, to try and place it somewhere. And then I realised, oh no, they're actually not talking about that. They're talking about Gogglebox.
So tell me, how did Gogglebox come about for you? Whose idea was it initially to join Gogglebox, and were you all on board straight away?
No. So I think the first 2 seasons had gone to air, and I'd seen the ads, and I think, like most of Australians, we just said, like, this show sounds completely nuts. It's never going to work. I watched a couple of episodes, and then I'd had my baby, and I sort of wanted to do something. I didn't want to go back to full-time work. So I was chatting to mum, and mum came home we would always have like cups of tea after work. Or mum would come over with Emmie, and we'd have cups of tea. And one day mum just said, oh, this nurse at work said they're casting for that show, that Gogglebox show. And he said, oh, you'd be great, Kerry. And I was like, oh, that show, yeah, I don't know if it's very good, but I'll look into it. So I applied. It took me 5 minutes. But when I was applying, I thought, no, what? Let me just think about this properly. What is missing on mainstream media is 3 real women. And I thought, that is just a no-brainer. Like, if the producer doesn't think that's a good idea, then I don't know what is. Because, we hang out every time. This would be so easy. But I thought, we're never going to get it. Like, they're never going to go for
because
for
we
this.
don't fit in. That's
Because we don't fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a reality show, as if they'd ever want women like us. And then, yeah, it happened so quickly. I think the producer called me straight away and said, can we come over the next day? And I had to say to Emmie didn't know that I'd done this application. So I was like,
And I'm saying to Isabelle, I can't go on TV. I work in psychiatry.
Yeah. Mum's like, I've got a job. I can't. No, this was just a passing comment. And I was like, oh, well, they want us and we're in. And Emmie's like, oh, shit, I don't want to be on TV. And I was like, well, we can just do a few episodes, and if you don't like it, you can change your mind. And now she loves it.
Yeah. 7 years later, we're still doing it.
How extraordinary is that? And can you believe that it's gone on for so long? Are you loving it just as much now as you did then?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
I think every shoot is different. I mean, we're watching such different content, and Australia's changing, and we're all changing, and all the families are going through ups and downs, and having kids and divorces and marriages. And I think if you've watched Gogglebox from the start or even halfway through, you really fall in love with the people and where they're up to in life, and their family dynamic. And
yeah, and that's true. You can't help but fall in love with some of the families and just the dynamics. And you just, sometimes you just see a certain family, you start laughing even before they've said anything, because you almost know now what they're thinking as they're watching. So it's quite amazing. So how has the latest season been for you all? Are you enjoying it?
Look, it is a bit harder. Like, the last few seasons have been a bit tough, just with COVID and stuff, and the circumstances around that with filming. But at the end of the day, when we're all sitting down and we've got our glass of wine, it is still really enjoyable. And we're watching some really good stuff, because I don't know if you've realised, but they've opened it up the last couple of seasons to Netflix and Stan and all the other platforms. So we're not just watching free to air content, we're actually, we're getting some really interesting stuff. So that's made it a lot better, I
Yeah.
think.
I always feel sad when it's over.
Yeah.
I think, oh, I don't want to go to bed now. Continue.
I love that though, Emmie. I'm guessing that through Gogglebox, you've probably watched a lot of content you may not have watched otherwise.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
I actually get amused, I think, Kerry, more than anything, watching you watch some reality programs, some other. Did you see the look on her face? And that is what makes me laugh.
We had to watch some shit this week, and I just lost it. And I said, I'm 68 years old. I could be dead tomorrow, and I'm wasting my time watching this shit. It really makes me cross. There's so much crap on TV.
It's just your response. I love that though. That's what I mean about your honesty. I think between the three of you, some of the things that come out of your mouth, but we'll just burst out laughing, my daughter and I, because I know that I have said this stuff to her or vice versa. I think it's just hilarious. My daughter during COVID, we were sort of, as everyone was, sort of locked down. I have 3 kids, but she's the only one still living at home. And she said to me, "Oh, why don't you watch some of the stuff I want to watch?" And I was like, yeah, okay. Because she really, she couldn't see her friends. She couldn't, okay, fine. And she introduced me to things like maths, Married at First Sight. Exactly right.
I love that show.
Well, I couldn't believe how quickly, though, I got really suckered into this stuff, where I was like, I'm not that person. I don't watch this rubbish. And all of a sudden I was like, hang on, what's happening now? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, but it's you can tell why it works. You can see that it's very formulaic, but why it does work and why people get sucked into it. But yeah, things like the Real Housewives, of anywhere was was quite remarkable. But she did get me to watch The Real Housewives of Melbourne, we started watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in my 50s. I've lived in Melbourne my whole life. I've never met who are these people?
Oh,
Who are they?
exactly where they are. I know where they are. They're in
You
Brighton and they're in Toorak.
But I also want to bust a stigma for your daughter and people and women like me, that smart women can also like trashy TV.
100%. And this is what I've realized, is that it's like everything else, it's escapism.
Yeah.
And I get it. I totally get, as I said, I understand why people get sucked into it.
You're way more normal.
Well, I must admit, I'm now watching what is it called with her? Selling Sunset, which is basically an American reality show about selling glamorous real estate. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why do I even like it? But I like it.
You like it, and you should not be ashamed. You should not be ashamed.
But having said that, I'm actually watching, my escapism is watching things like on Netflix, there's this great show about real estate agents in Paris, a family of real estate agents. And I love watching that because they go into these luxurious places that normal people like me would never see in France. Like I go to my friends' houses and it's just ordinary living. But I just love that escapism of seeing these amazing places that these agents go into. It's fabulous. I love it.
So Sandy, I fell into a depression when maths finished. Yeah, but guess what? Have you discovered Maths UK?
Oh no!
Yeah, that's me. You've got to get into Maths UK because they all speak like this, and they're all like, did you sleep with my husband? And it's just it's just the best.
Oh wow! All right, listen, I don't know if that's a bridge too far for me, Isabelle. I might give it a go. I'm fascinated. Never say never. I'm fascinated reading, though, that in the UK they are absolutely mad for Maths Australia. They love it.
Apparently they love Gogglebox Australia too.
They do, yeah. Yep, it's really interesting reading all the articles, but Gogglebox rates really, really high in the UK, and so does Maths.
Oh dear, it's very
we must be doing something right.
Do you think? Why do you think that is? Actually, that's a really interesting question as well. Do you think it's because Australians seem to be far more laid back?
I think they've always been obsessed with our shows, haven't they? Always loved Neighbours, and I think they're just in love with our culture. Yeah, maybe because we are really laid back and there's not that classist thing going on.
I think that's a big part of it, actually, because there isn't a class. Well, there is here, of course there is, but it's not as pronounced as it is in the UK. And I think that gives them some relief, really, because it must be awful to have to live like that with, you know, upper, middle and lower class according to your accent, which is pretty amazing, really.
Yeah, it's quite phenomenal. And this whole, you know, what school did you go to, which is huge in Britain. And, you know, I think, who do you work for? What do you do? And what school did you go to? And I think it's not as pronounced here. I'm sure there is an element of that here as well, for sure, but it's not pronounced. You're right. You know, the problem with the UK loving everything that we do here, though, is that they do all think weirdly that we live near the beach and that we're all suntanned.
Yeah.
And
That's fine.
I wish I lived near the beach.
I do live near the beach.
We live near the beach, but we're not suntanned. We're fake tanned.
Fake tanned. I love it. Oh, I love it. So, ladies, congratulations again on the book. It is so, like, you know, it's beautiful. I think what an amazing project, and what an extraordinary thing for 3 generations of women to come together and share your hard-won wisdom, is what I like to call it, and to share it all together as well. I think is such a beautiful thing. How are you feeling about the book launching this week?
I'm scared. I'm actually really scared, and I never get scared, but I actually am scared.
I'm feeling both. I'm feeling very excited, and I'm feeling absolutely terrified at the same time.
So terrible.
I'm feeling very nervous because I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. So
Neither do we.
How do we do?
And is there going to be a book tour?
Yes.
Will there be? Yeah, wonderful.
We're doing a couple of states and we're going around to bookshops, and so contact your local bookshop and get a copy and follow us on socials, and we might be in your capital city next few weeks.
That's fantastic. And then people can come along, no doubt, to some signings and and get to meet you face to face, which is lovely.
Yeah. And Sandy, I just want to say thank you for creating a beautiful platform for these sort of women to go to and to resonate with. And if we just need more of it, so you should be super proud, and we feel really chuffed to be a part of it. So thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm massively honoured. That means a lot. Thank you very much. It's for me, it is definitely a passion that drives me every single day. And I will say, obviously, we have the WB40, top 10 women to watch coming up very soon, which is really exciting. Congratulations to Emmie for being one of those extraordinary women, and a huge thank you to both of you, ladies. Isabelle and Kerry, for nominating her, because Emmie, you're brilliant, you're fabulous, and there should be more women in the media like yourself. Absolutely.
Amen.
It's been an extraordinary gift for me to meet all 3 of you today. Thank you so much for your beautiful time. I know that you're really busy. I'm super excited for you for this book. I know everyone's going to love it. And we will definitely put up all the links so people will know where they can buy it, and all of your socials so people can follow along. I will say to my listeners, if you're not watching Gogglebox Australia, you've really got to just jump in there and do it. It is amazing. It's so much fun, and it's a joyful show.
And while you're reading the book, my advice is to have a box of tissues.
Yes. Yes.
Do your pelvic floor exercises, because you're laughing an awful lot, and try not to be too shocked.
And a glass of wine.
A glass of wine. You'll need a glass of wine. Yeah.
And a glass of wine, Sandy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Definitely a glass of wine. It is a beautiful, beautiful book. Congratulations, ladies. I think what you've done is extraordinary. I think you will be encouraging many generations of women to start opening up and sharing their stories with one another. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sandy. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to you by Wb40, Women Beyond 40 Magazine. Available now at wb40.com. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to quality podcasts. We're also now available on YouTube. We chat with really interesting women about their hard-won wisdom, but it really helps us if you can subscribe, like, and share the podcast. Thanks so much for your support. Bye for now.